Chief, President sir, I have a question.
What else again?
Oh, is it impossible to have liposuction without any scars? There are people who have keloid tendencies and those who experience hypertrophic reactions, and I've heard that many suffer from that. So, is it really not possible to have liposuction without any scars?
Whatever surgery you have, some scarring is just inevitable. But depending on how the stitches are done and how the surgery is performed, scars can either be noticeable or pretty hidden. There are some people who seem blessed when it comes to scars, like most white people I've seen. They can get cuts or surgeries almost anywhere, and the scars hardly show. Not every white person is like that, but from my experience, especially in Europe, people from Northern Europe, Russia, and Germanic backgrounds tend not to get scars easily. They usually have very little melanin in their skin. On the other hand, East Asians tend to show scars very prominently, and the same goes for black people too. Their scars can appear very dark. In countries like Korea, China, and Japan, many people have scars that are quite noticeable. Once a scar forms, it goes through various changes, first starting with a red color. It typically starts off red, and that redness can last anywhere from about a year to 2 years. During this time, many people see their scars darken before they eventually turn white. So it goes from red to dark and then to white. Until it turns white, scars can be really noticeable. But just because a scar turns white doesn't mean it's completely gone. Even after 10 years, it can still be visible. I have a scar on my wrist that's probably about 20 years old, and it still hasn't faded. I guess I just have to live with it. When I meet patients, some people are really sensitive about their scars, while others say they're okay with it. This is what you think before surgery, but after surgery, there are a lot of people who feel stressed out about it when they're showering or getting dressed. So let me first explain a little bit about where we usually make incisions when we do liposuction. When doing arm liposuction, I usually make 2 or 3 incisions, that one in each armpit, and sometimes one near the elbow or the front of the armpit. So it's usually going with about 2 or 3 incisions. When doing thigh liposuction, I usually make 1 or 2 incisions in the groin area and then another incision below the knee. On the back of the thigh, there's usually 1 incision under the side and another at the crease where the thigh meets the butt. And usually make an incision in each wrinkle, so it's common to have 10 holes or around 10 holes for the surgery. When doing abdominal liposuction, first of all, if you look at the front, most people do it like this, 1 on the belly button and 2 in the groin area. And then if you do it a little bit more, there are people who do 2 holes under the chest to take out the fat, to treat the upper abdomen, and then to take out the fat to the side. They often do it with 2 incisions in the pelvic bone area. When it comes to back liposuction, I usually make 2 incisions in the armpits and 1 or 2 in the middle of the back. Sometimes there are 2 above the tailbone and a couple on the sides. So typically there are around 9 incisions in the front and about 7 in the back for liposuction. For calf liposuction, I usually do 1 or 2 incisions in the crease behind the knee and 1 or 2 near the ankle, which means there can be as many as 4 or as few as 2 incisions for liposuction.
So where do you usually make the incisions?
In my case, I usually don't do that many incisions, just 1 inside the belly button and another incision in the pubic hair, 3rd one in the crease of the butt, and if you're doing the arms, there's 1 in the armpit. For full body liposuction, you usually end up with 4 to 5 incisions, as many as 5 and as few as 4 in your whole body. If you look closely, one goes inside the belly button, so you can't see that one at all. The one between the butt cheeks is also pretty hidden, and there's one in the pubic hair, which are the most common spots. So you can think of them as almost invisible. But scars can sometimes end up being larger than expected. When you do liposuction, the suction tube can touch the skin, which might damage it. Basically, it can cause the skin to peel. Let me show you. This is the skin. And when we do the surgery, if we're not careful, when this tube touches the skin and it's going to cause this skin a little bit, it can get burned, which can make the skin peel and cause bigger scars. That's why these days almost clinics use something called a skin protector. So that's why I use something called a skin protector. That way the skin goes in like this. Even doing it this way. Since it doesn't touch the skin, it causes less damage. These days a lot of clinics use these skin protectors. Of course some don't, so make sure to check it out before you go in for surgery.
If there's a scar left, definitely take good care of it, right?
Oh yeah. First off, there are different ways to suture. If you stitch the inside first and then the outside, you usually get the best results. When you do that, it leaves a nice clean line. So it's really important to stitch the inside properly. For smaller wounds, some doctors might just stitch the outside, but there are a lot of different stitching techniques and ways to treat wounds. The better the stitching, the less noticeable the scar will be. So, the key is to keep the number of scars as low as possible.
So how do you take care of scars?
Once the wound heals, it's really important to apply ointment. There are so many good ointments available these days, and most of them work well. The key is to keep the scar area well moisturized. If it gets too dry, it can turn dark. So just pick one of those ointments and use it regularly. Applying it properly can really help prevent the scar from getting bigger, sticking out, turning red, or darkening. But if you do notice any protruding issues with the scar, definitely you really need to let the doctors know about this. It's important to take a look. If it's just turning red, that's one thing, but if it's sticking out, you can actually use injection treatments to help prevent it from getting worse. If you wait until it gets really big and then come in asking for an injection, you might need a lot more treatments than if you address it early on. So it's really important to go ask questions and get a consultation beforehand. Alright, that's it for today. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.